Natalia Gumenyuk is an independent journalist covering the war in Ukraine, and she joins me now from the eastern city of Kharkiv. Natalia, first of all, thanks very much. Tell us where you are and what you're seeing around you right now in Kharkiv.
So, hi, yeah, I'm in fact in the downtown of Kharkiv, which is the second largest town where over like a few million people live. And this is one of the oldest streets where there are fashion brands, restaurants, cafes. It's nearby the, city council and the center square, which has been heavily hit still on 1st of the March. But this place really signifies for the local residents, this feeling that they felt punished for not surrendering because there is no real any reason to target this area. People feel very strong about that because there are old historic center. You see like the fashion clothes magazine or something like that. Fortunately, this area is kind of calmer. People are not. Some people still live there. The shellings are taking place constantly on the suburbs, residential areas in the city, which are in the direction of north, in the direction of Russia. But for me personally, like somebody who was here walking, moving, bringing people to, like just a month ago, I was here with some American journalists, and like we've been working and coming here and see that I'm myself from Kiev, from the capital. That's quite painful, and you really don't understand why it happens. Somewhere you still have the light in those buildings. Somewhere you still have this feeling like come for the coffee and things like that.
And Natalia, is it okay if you can show us a little bit what's around you? I know you're coming to us via your camera phone,
Yeah,
but just so we get a sense
So
of what the
yeah,
center there looks
let
like,
me
and just
do that if I
describe what
can
we're seeing.
turn.
Yeah.
So yeah. Look, so that would be the fashion store, another fashion store. I'll do it, slow, quite slow, so there is no loss of the signal. Probably there would be,
Mm-hmm.
uh, still the. Oh, I can even show. There are still like the closing where the shellings was taking place like 10 days ago, but you actually see the women's closing, like just really inside. I should also say there is no any loitering here, and things like that. But you can walk quite a long time, quite a long way. There was, for instance, nearby. It's a bit longer to walk. The Azerbaijani consulate, also destroyed something kind of a beauty boutique. We just walked past some place where there was like that is a sign of the business association. All these places. Yeah, I mean, it's like not always every building is shelled, but of course the neighborhood is unlivable at the moment. Of course,
Yeah, of course.
let me.
And how you said that you were telling us just now that the bulk of the Russian bombardment and targeting is happening in the outskirts, but that this center area
Mhm.
currently is obviously, relatively speaking, calm right now. I just want to make sure that you're feeling safe
Yeah,
and that you're able to still talk to us. Yes.
I'm
Mhm.
able to still talk. I need to turn, the camera. So yeah, the point, I think it was quite a symbolic because a lot of people didn't understand why things happen. But the general idea is that because it's a largely Russian speaking town just on the east, maybe Putin underestimated, as always, the idea that the town just would kind of welcome them, and resistance was very fierce, and the town totally didn't accept, you know this. And then it was kind of because they couldn't overtake it, so they were just terrorizing people. It's very hard for us to speak about the amount of the people, civilian casualties, to be honest, because it's very hard to count. But something to say that, yeah, I've been a day before in the uh, another city, the city outskirts where the fighting is taking place. It's really huge residential area somehow, and the shelling is
Mhm.
constant. Of course, you won't stay long there. So they have the subway here, which serves as a shelter. But we went there, and there are, like hundreds of people who live there because they feel it's safer. They won't be able to move to another place. They just want to be on the basement.
Mhm.
There were at some point 2,000 people living at the subway station, in the carriages, just on the floor. The numbers are quite impressive. It's a really big town.
How far are Russian troops to the city center of Kharkiv right now?
They are quite far. So the problem is that they can still shell beyond from the Russian border. It could be that's one point. It's like 30 kilometers. Some of the missiles can reach it, but they are also based quite a bit closer to the town. So they are on the Ukrainian territory as well. It could be in some point like 10 kilometers, but from the town, not from the city center.
You mentioned that perhaps Vladimir Putin underestimated how much resistance there would be in Kharkiv because potentially it's so close to the Russian border and there's a big Russian-speaking population. Can you give us a sense of the people who've remained in this city? What is their state of mind right now?
So I given the explanation, really a lot of people join territorial defense. A lot of people I know well do that. A lot of people volunteer to help each other, to organize it. Like the things are working. Communal services are working, police, firefighters, ambulances, hospitals. And they are feel very resilient. So, colleague, we've been to the hospital and there was a guy who is an architect. He was wounded. And he said, like, I'm here to get better and to rebuild this town. It would be even more beautiful. But of course, there are also people who are elderly. They feel more devastated. They feel lost. There was a moment. Some of the people stayed in their areas. Some people stayed in the areas. They couldn't. They didn't know how to get out. There are volunteers helping them. But what interesting that even those, a lot of people whom we consider like the elderly, feeling nostalgic, didn't feeling really bad about Russia, they now really like, especially I talked to a lot of those old ladies who, still remembered Soviet Union. And they are extremely angry. They're frustrated. They say it's betrayal. We couldn't expect it from Russia. So it's getting that. There is just one thing I wanted to add, just because it was a place where probably few journalists been. I recently been, and I say that it's not just about Kharkiv. I've been to also another town in Okhtirka, which is small town. Not many people in Ukraine know it, but it's important a railroad junction with 50,000 people living there. And there was also the town which stopped the Russian advance. If they would have overtaken it, they would it would be the open road to the other bigger towns. And it's again the same tactics.
What's the name of that town?
Where the center is. It's Okhtirka.
What's the name of that town? All right,
it's the town of Okhtirka in Sumy region. And what I seen was really, way more harder than here because, the train station, it's barely exists. They're using air bombs and there are people still there. There were still houses on fire. And there is really nothing. So, the town is strategic, but the objects which are targeted, they're clearly civilians, like the shop, the culture house, or just residential areas in the private sector, or and like with a huge. I'm not a specialist in weapon, but with this huge craters which I haven't seen elsewhere.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your brave on-the-ground reporting there. You really gave us an invaluable picture of what's happening in the center of Kharkiv. Thank you so much, Nataliya Gumenyuk, for joining us live on CNN.